Imagine for a second that you've just been handed the keys to the most powerful kingdom in the region. But there's a catch. You have to fill the shoes of a legend, literally a war hero who defined a generation. And you feel like you have absolutely no idea what you're doing.
That is the definition of imposter syndrome, isn't it? But that is exactly where we find Solomon in 1 Kings. He's stepping out of David's massive shadow, and honestly, the first moves he makes are fascinating. It's not just about ruling, it's about survival.
Right? And the text opens with this interesting political maneuver. He makes a marriage alliance with Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. That feels like a massive shift in foreign policy, doesn't it? David was a warrior. Solomon seems to be starting as a diplomat.
Exactly. It's a signal that the era of conquest is over and the era of consolidation has begun. But what really defines this transition isn't the marriage. It's that famous dream at Gibeon. Solomon goes to sacrifice, and God essentially hands him a blank check. Ask for what I should give you.
The ultimate test. Most people, if we're being honest, would ask for a long life or maybe a bottomless treasury. Or, please destroy my enemies.
Which would have been the standard request for an ancient Near Eastern king. But Solomon does something radical. He admits his vulnerability. He calls himself a little child who doesn't know how to go out or come in. He asks for an understanding heart to judge the people.
An understanding heart. I love that phrasing. It's not just high IQ. It implies empathy, doesn't it? Listening.
Precisely. The Hebrew essentially means a hearing heart. And because he didn't treat the crown as a grab for personal power, he gets the wisdom, but he also gets everything he didn't ask for. The riches, the honor, the stability. But here's the question. How do you prove you have that wisdom? You can't just claim it. You have to demonstrate it.
And that leads us to the story everyone knows. The two women, the one baby, and the sword. It's such a violent, visceral image. Cut the baby in half. It sounds insane when you say it out loud.
It does. But look at the psychology behind it. Solomon wasn't relying on DNA tests or witnesses. There were none. He had to bypass the logic and trigger a primal emotional reaction. He knew the real mother would rather lose the child to a stranger than see it die.
It's a high-stakes gamble, though. What if the other woman had called his bluff?
That's where the hearing heart comes in. He discerned the truth by exposing the human heart. The text says all Israel feared the king after that. That's a crucial shift. They realized this wasn't just a bureaucrat. This was someone with divine insight. It solidified his authority instantly.
Speaking of bureaucrats, though, Chapter 4 is a bit of a shift. We go from this dramatic courtroom drama to a list of names and districts. It feels like reading a government spreadsheet. Why does this matter?
Oh, but the spreadsheet is the secret to the empire. You don't get the golden age without the logistics. Solomon divides the land into 12 districts, each responsible for feeding the massive royal court for 1 month a year. It's a logistical masterpiece. It broke down the old tribal allegiances and centralized power around the throne.
And the result sounds idyllic. The text says Judah and Israel were numerous as the sand, eating, drinking, and making merry. Every man under his vine and his fig tree. It sounds like the peak of civilization.
It was. It was an explosion of culture, science, and peace. We see Solomon described not just as a king, but as a philosopher-scientist. He's cataloging trees, studying animals, writing thousands of proverbs and songs. He turned Jerusalem into a global intellectual hub. People were traveling from all over the known world just to hear him speak.
It's the Renaissance, 2,000 years early. But I have to ask, is there a shadow here? We hear about the 40,000 stalls for horses, the massive daily food consumption, the forced labor drafts.
You're spotting the tension. That is the double-edged sword of the Golden Age. The wisdom brought prosperity, but the prosperity required a massive machine to sustain it. The horses, the chariots. Those are things the law of Moses actually warned kings not to multiply.
So even in the middle of this divine wisdom, the seeds of the eventual downfall are being planted?
That is the tragedy of the human condition, isn't it? You can have the wisdom to judge a case perfectly, but do you have the discipline to manage the success that comes from it? Solomon's reign starts with a humble prayer for a hearing heart, and it leads to a kingdom of unimaginable scale. But as we see those chariots piling up, we have to wonder, is the wisdom changing the man, or is the power slowly eroding the wisdom?
It's a chilling thought. We usually think of wisdom as the finish line. Once you have it, you're set. But maybe wisdom is just the tool and how you wield it. That's the real test?
Exactly. The text leaves us in this moment of high glory, peace on all sides, wisdom overflowing. But history tells us that the vine and fig tree are fragile things. It's easier to build an empire than to keep your soul intact while running it. God bless.